All right. Live Sports Injury Central Pro Football Doc podcast. Remote locations. Family vacation in the mountains. This is not actually a fake backdrop. If I open up this window right here, the snow will come in to the room.
Big pile behind you.
And then the cleaner's here.
I'm working the whole time. I don't know about vacation. All I see is work the whole time.
Work? I've been the shuttle bus driver.
Well, you're working the whole time.
I know I am working the whole time. Although
helping you.
That leads into it. I don't know where I'm less wanted, Kim. I don't know where I'm less wanted, here or in the Sports Injury Central war room.
It might be at work. Yeah.
I mean, they enjoyed their freedom without me.
They were talking so much shit about you that you couldn't even figure out how to turn on the goddamn game. They're just shit talking you nonstop.
Hey! No four-letter words. Oh wait, it's a podcast. Nobody cares.
Kids are watching.
The kids are watching. Kids are watching. All right, so yeah, I don't know if I wanted less in the war room or here. In the war room, you guys are what, 11-0, right?
11-0 in the war room. The Sunday night football game we lost, so we don't count that. In war room, we were 11-0. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
And you even did the halftime injury chat without me. How'd that go?
That was a little stressful. I did think the numbers went up a little bit than from normal when your face is on there, but we don't need to really change the process. I think you're fine.
The numbers went up from my face?
I don't know. They might have been a little uptick.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, you're hired, man. You can do them all. All right, so sorry we're late today, but we had a snowmobiling trip this morning, so we couldn't do the we couldn't do the thing. When Davis gets here, he can tell the story. So we couldn't do the podcast, but we're live now, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, at least it fits. It's sort of, instead of the pregame injury chat, it's ahead of the Monday night game. So, Taylor, you don't know this, but we went on a snowmobiling trip. And true story, one of our friends who was riding with my son on the snowmobile, they literally caught on fire.
Oh, wow.
Literally caught on fire, snowmobiling. That'll be the teaser. Davis will want to tell this story if he gets back in. If not, we'll close with the, I know, you're in the snow. How do you catch on fire? This is not a wives' tale story, but literally on fire.
Your wife started to freak out a little bit.
Oh, so the front end of so I was in the front with little Devin on the back, and they pull over at a fork in the road, and they're waiting, and the guide's sitting there. And a guy from the very back comes all the way up to the guy in front and goes, "You have your radio on?" The guy goes, "I don't know." He goes, "They need you. The snowmobile's on fire." And he's like, "What?" And so he turns around, and then all of a sudden, as he's going down, everyone is like a chain. The first snowmobile to the next one. There's a fire in the snowmobile, fire in the snowmobile. And then it's hard for me to turn around. I turn around and we're like, "Where's our friend Clint?" My son Davis is with him, and oh, he's not with us. And all of a sudden, Kim jumps off her snowmobile with Dylan on it and starts running down the hill. And the guy that was sitting next to me in this pink snowsuit, who's the guy who's also a patron who said we were on fire, goes, "No one's hurt, but I guess I should have led with that."
Not snowball on fire. Nobody's hurt, but the snowball's on fire. Yeah,
he led with snowmobile on fire, and he didn't lead with. He says maybe I should have led with no one was hurt, but there literally was a fire. We'll tell that whole story later. My son will tell the story.
A bunch of listeners said
I kicked Devin off, and I went down the mountain. I was like, "Kim, you're not gonna be able to run down the mountain and catch him." But whatever. So there's our teaser. The assessment of injury is Clinton Davis's 6 scores are in the 90s. They're still okay.
Very good. All right, Doc, real quick, talk to me about your tweet that blew up last night. I think it's up to like 4+ million things. You've always talked about your strategy about, when you're kicking a long field goal, to send someone back there to potentially not goaltend, but in theory, goaltend or kick the field goal if it's like low enough or hitting the crossbar. Tell me your thoughts on that and why you've always had theory in your mind.
All right. Well, first of all, you got to understand, when you're on an NFL sideline, when you're a coach, all you want to do is, you're not allowed to, but all you want to do is play doctor. But you stay in your lane and you don't. When you're a doctor, all you want to do is be a coach, but you stay in your own lane, you don't. So the doctors and the medical staff, we have a lot of time to talk about things. We talked about a number of things. Everything from if the pylon is considered inbounds at the goal line, why is it sitting out of bounds?
Right.
Just a question, right? And I've asked the referee before. They know the answer to it. It's fine. It's inches. The other one that I always said, and I literally said this to coaches, the old tuck rule, Tom Brady, which obviously has been changed.
Right.
Okay. The old tuck rule is once the ball started forward, until your second hand touched the ball or it touched your body, no matter the direction of the ball. And look, we'll get Amy Trask to weigh in on this. She goes crazy every time.
She does.
Princess of Darkness. I love Amy. Hi, Amy.
Yes.
As soon as the arm goes forward, is considered a forward pass, even if it's heading back towards until it touches the body or the other hand. So back in the day, I used to ask coaches, so why don't you coach your guys to just wave the ball continuously? And if you get hit, drop it. It's an incomplete pass.
Right.
You'll never have a fumble. You'll never have a strip sack. And you'll never have intentional grounding. Instead of the usual ball security two hands, just start waving it and pumping it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you get hit, let go. And they would look at me and just chuckle. But the league did change that rule.
Yes.
Now you can't do that anymore. There's all sorts of weird rules. So here's the one I'm saying. The Miami field goal, 58-yarder, whatever it was, it hit off the crossbar and then barely bounced over. If numerous guys on each NFL team can dunk the football over the crossbar, Travis Kelce did it barely last week, but there's a lot of people who do it routinely.
Right.
Why couldn't you put someone back there to catch the ball up high? Now, I get it. There's the Stroud rule. There was a basketball player back in the day who
6'9" Chiefs tight end. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Stand there and try and block it. It only applies to long field goals, right? Like that barely make the crossbar. I get you cannot bat the ball back there and you cannot goaltend. That's a rule. But that's not what I'm talking about. You certainly can stand back there. See Antonio Cromartie against Minnesota. I was there, 109-yard kickoff. Sorry, best field goal return at the end of the first half against the Vikings in Minnesota. Caught it at the back end of the end zone and ran it back. So you put a guy back there to, quote, receive a shorter field goal attempt, but you don't bat the ball. You jump up with one hand over the crossbar and catch it. The rule says deflect. That's what the rule says. So I want Dean Blandino and Mike Pereira to weigh in on that. I get you can't stand there and bat it, but you can't go back there and say, I'm making a one-handed Odell Beckham catch and trying to return it.
Do you think every single NFL team has a player that can do that, or would they
Dunk
utilize
the ball?
Yes,
100%.
Yeah. They wouldn't have to go to a spot just for this specialty guy. They wouldn't have to waste anything.
No, 100%. There's one guy on every team. Probably, I would say the over-under is at least 5, if not 10. 5.
Okay.
5 that can do it easily. I mean, look at the Monday night game tonight. Random sample. Detroit against San Francisco. You think Brandon Ayuk couldn't do that?
Right.
I
think Kittle could, to be honest.
I think Kittle probably could, and Brandon Ayuk could.
Yeah.
On Detroit, let's see. Who are the
Sam Laporta could for sure. They have a tight end on his backup, Brock Wright, who's taller than him, who could definitely dunk. So you just, like you said, bring somebody out there. Every team, like you said, you could definitely pick 2 or 3, maybe more players that can.
And it's not to bat or goaltend at the crossbar. It's to reach up, move your feet. Okay, line up with it, time your jump, and try and one hand grab it with the goal of bringing it down for a return.
Yes.
But yes, you would reach above the crossbar, but you're not. Read the rule. It says it's illegal batting and you cannot deflect the ball and goaltend, all you would say, I'm not goaltending. I'm receiving the ball for a return.
The rule says
gray area. I don't know.
Yeah, goaltending by any player leaping up to deflect a kick as it passes above the crossbar of a goalpost is prohibited.
That's I'm not deflecting. I'm catching.
You're catching it, or you're doing like a block catch at the same time. Like,
well, no, I would say I'm not even blocking it. I'm just catching it to return it. I'm catching it over my head. There's nothing wrong with that. Why can't you, Odell Beckham, catch a ball over your head?
We have a YouTube listener that said he could do it, so maybe he could.
There you go. Actually, I see that. Oh, there you go.
It's my dad.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, if it's going to hit the crossbar and barely go over, you don't think there's players that can jump up high enough to grab it with one hand and just even bring it down to their body and attempt to return? Now, within a week, the NFL would, modify.
Is that what's stopping it? Because you have to try it once before. Like, the players, when they hop on the player to block a field goal, that was tried a couple times and they outlawed it. Do they need to do
Correct.
This? Do they need
now, I'm not saying you're going to stand on someone's shoulders and try and catch. That's illegal, right? You can't help. You use your own teammate to get up there. There's all sorts of rules. Like, right now, one of the things in field goals, you can leap over the A gap as long as you don't touch anybody.
Right.
If you touch the center, it's a penalty.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. But that was an interesting thing, and I get it. Like, I know you can't bat the ball. That was my point. Enough buying time here. Let's go to
you were getting your views. Questions. You were getting your views like the young kids on Twitter. That's what you're trying to do.
No, I'm satisfied. Like I said, the secret is when you're a doctor on the sideline, you think you can have stupid rules shit and be whatever, and there's all sorts of another Sports Injury Central doctor, Dr. Bob Spear, that I know very well. He used to always say, look, if the ball's on the opponent's, if you're defending and you're up by 6 points or even 3 points, and they have their ball, let's say, on their own 30-yard line, and you have 20 seconds left, okay? Why don't you, across the board, intentionally hold everybody?
Yeah, yep. All across the line.
It's a 5-yard penalty, and the time doesn't come back on the clock. All right, the ball went from the 25 to the 30. You do that again, you get it to the 35. You do that again. It's the final play. Right. You can't kick a field goal from there. You're down to one Hail Mary. That's it. Back, as long as Jaden Daniels isn't throwing it against the Bears, you're okay, right? But that's a whole other story. But you get what I'm saying? Now, that's illegal now, too, because you can't do consecutive intentional fouls. They can call unsportsmanlike conduct and whatever. But the time still doesn't come back on the clock. So there still is little loopholes. Anyways, that's called too much free time on the sidelines.
Yes, you and your buddies. After there's no injuries.
Too much free time. A little bit of knowledge is dangerous. Too much free time.
All right, Doc. Let's jump into we got a lot of playoff implications in seeding. You saw Pelissaro and Rapport. They posted a big tweet that had all the different color coded situations. You have the Falcons though by their lonely, right? The one that's really not really necessarily eliminated. But how do you treat situations? I have multiple people asking about even Gibbs tonight. Is Gibbs going to play a whole game? How do you, from a doctor, treat a week 18 when there's a lot of different incentives, implications, and motivations this week?
Well, obviously this is a week 17 Gibbs, but that's a whole different story. Right. But we can go through that. But in general, first of all, what's interesting is the Ravens game early on Saturday. If the Ravens lose, clearly the Steelers want to win against the Bengals. But if the Ravens win, the Steelers cannot win the division. Will they play everybody? Mike Tomlin says for now, yes, but he's not final. And the reason why they would is if the Steelers win, if I'm correct, on Saturday, even if the Ravens already have won, the Steelers could secure the 5th seed and then travel to Houston versus potentially the 6th seed, right? And have to travel to Baltimore.
That is correct. What I'm seeing here. That's correct, Doc. Yes. Yeah.
Well, if you're the Steelers, you want to play division rival Baltimore in Baltimore, or you want to take your chances in Houston?
You want to take your chance in Houston. That's the correct move.
So The NFL ain't dumb. They schedule it that way on purpose. All right.
Baltimore's before. Yeah, Baltimore's before the Steelers for a reason. Yeah.
Well, Baltimore's before, and it doesn't matter. The Steelers, if Baltimore loses, the Steelers have incentive. If Baltimore wins, the Steelers still have incentive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why the league scheduled that. So it's all about incentive. And okay, let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me give you a sample conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I love Dan Campbell. I don't know Dan Campbell. And I don't know if I were a team doctor for the Lions that there would be much of a conversation. Dan Campbell seems to know what he wants to do, pedal to the metal, and I don't know that anyone's talking him out of anything. But if we had a hypothetical conversation, the conversation might start with, what injury issues does Jahmyr Gibbs have? Would he benefit from taking week 17 off / week 18 off, or take week 17 off? We have a big week 18 game against the Vikings, etc. Now, does he have any injuries where he would benefit? Or is it just an ongoing concern and a week of rest isn't going to matter? But what might factor into that is utilization. He's gone from a 1A, 1B to the bell cow because of David Montgomery. Now, that's where you might say, maybe you don't want to run him into the ground this game. Maybe you want to play him and have another 1B, one of the other backups, or sit him if you wanted to. But that becomes a coaching decision. See, from a medical perspective, all I would ever say is, you can't play him, it's unsafe. I wouldn't play him because there's risk of injury and you're better off resting him. Strategically, here are the things that can happen, like Jalen Hurts. Just so you know, if he gets a second concussion, he's out for a month.
Right.
Do you want us to push to clear him? No thanks, Doc. Let's not push to clear him. Jalen Hurts, right? The decision is ultimately up to the head coach. I mean, I would never, there are lots of times the head coach has said, well, if you say he can go, I don't care that he's 80%. I'm going to play him. Oh, okay. You're the coach, And so the discussion would be, I would give Dan Campbell information on what Jahmyr Gibbs has and how he might or might not benefit from rest, how he might or might be injured or overusage and fatigue in the situation. But he's going to be the decision maker on that one. That's way above my pay grade. But we would have these discussions. And in the end, sometimes I wonder how often have my discussions made a difference. I've told this story before. I remember one time, we got to have Gates. We got to have him. We got to have him. Well, he's really not ready to go, coach. We got to have him, even as a decoy. 10, 12 red zone snaps. We got to have him. He draws so much attention in the red zone. All right, sure. But, don't run him into the ground and, potentially re-injure him, I won't say what the injury was. And at the end of the first quarter, the head athletic trainer and I look at each other and we go, how many plays has Gates played? Seems like it's about 15 or close to 20 already.
Yeah, already.
And we look at each other and we go, what are you going to do? I mean, you're really going to go, coach, remember our deal? 10 plays, red zone? What happened? Look.
Oh, leave him out there. He's got to. Yeah.
You want to get slugged on the sideline? I mean, talk about stay in your lane. Once they have their helmet, the analogy I'll have it, and thankfully I don't have teenagers yet. They're 12. But once you give the teenagers the keys to the car and you tell them their curfew's 11, what time they come home is a different story than what necessarily you may have told them.
Mm-hmm. They have the keys. They're out.
Guys, he's got his helmet. You're not going to go up to the head coach or a position coach and get cussed out.
This reminded me, Doc, a little bit of that. Remember the Justin Herbert situation a little bit earlier on the season where Harbaugh was like, you may be 80, 85%, but if you start limping, I'm going to take you out. And they remember that was one time they were thinking about it. So that's like you said, that was a deal or something that the coach and the athletic trainer, they had something.
And that's what I mean. In the end, look, it's the doctor and medical staff's job to say it's unsafe. He's going to do permanent damage. He's going to make the injury worse. That's when you speak up. Okay. Now, if in the discussion with the coach, he goes, "Yeah, I don't want to make this worse. If you, I'll let you play, but if you start limping, I'm going to pull you." And he's up front and tells you that. Yeah, that's what the head coach's job is to do, to manage the risk. It's a medical's job to give the risk in terms of what's happening, give the relative risk assessment. There are times when, let's say in Kenny Pickett's case, whether he had hurt his ribs more or not, apparently he took 2 injections, one before the game, one at halftime to play. It's less common nowadays post Tyrod Taylor. And no, I was not involved with Tyrod Taylor. That was LA Chargers, not San Diego Chargers, whatever. Not uncommon to get 2 injections because it wears off quickly with metabolism. But it would be medical's job in the fourth quarter, if your team is winning by a lot, to go for the athletic trainer or someone to tap the substitutions guy or the quarterback coach or the OC or whoever and go, "Hey, do you want to pull Kenny from the game now? He does have broken ribs. We don't want to make that worse." And the coach may say, or the position coach may say, "Get away from me." Or they may say, "Good idea." I mean, sometimes there's a reminder that happens, but it's clearly not medical's call. Unless you say, "I think he's going to get a punctured lung, we got to pull him." Then you just pull him, right? Then you just say there's no choice. If there's a decision to be made medically in terms of risk, then you have to let it go with the player and the coach. If there's clear medical risk, then you just pull them, right? I mean, so that's how it works.
I had one player just to add. Before we start our rundown, I want to talk about something real quick. Is Drake Maye? That's someone remember he was evaluated for concussion. Would they use this week maybe just to be like, "Hey, get right, off season's coming up," or do they want this game time and need to hit the reps? Like, what is more important? Is that just in board behind the scenes stuff?
Well, I don't have enough information to tell you, Taylor.
No.
If indeed Drake Maye says, "Yeah, I cleared a concussion, but I was a little groggy out there," the team is likely to pull him and say, "Look, you're our future. Let's not turn you into a Tua where we worry about you every week situation. What's one game? We already know you're our guy going into next year." That may be the – now, if it was like, no, I was fine and cleared. I'm ready. I have no problems. I never had a concussion. I'm excited to end the season on a win. Gerard Mayo may elect to play him. So that's what you don't know. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. I just want one more question, just for rest or rust. Do you think it's bad or good, or just like a Lions team? Like, rest is probably helpful with all the injuries they have, and maybe a team that's hot, rest is bad.
I know you're just feeding me this question. You have to know the answer because it depends on the team and it depends on the player. Okay. Let me tell you, clearly rest is a good thing for Terron Armstead, left tackle of the Miami Dolphins. He's been resting all week, and then he plays in the game.
Right.
Okay. But if it's a young player healthy, and especially a backup, or there's no reason, I mean, staying in the groove might be more beneficial. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer is my point.
For sure. All right, Doc, before we go in the rundown, let's talk about, we were, like you said, we're keeping you in Montana. We all chipped in to make sure you stay there extra week. We were 11-1 against the spread in totals, week 17. Very, very good for, I feel like we've always talked about our stuff. We try to injuries get a little stale, later in the year. And sometimes our stuff, we have to look into more stuff behind the scenes. But this was a good week later in the year, right? And a lot of stuff.
Look, I don't directly, we've got the algorithm for the picks, and it's based primarily on injuries and the 6 scores primarily. And there's deltas, there's a lot of things into the formula, but I feel like this week has finally paid off a little bit. If you really think about it, we've had, if you really look at the 11-0 from the war room, the difference was about 8 of those picks were dominant, dominant overs, dominant unders. Eagles game, dominant. Tampa Bay, dominant. Eagles over Cowboys, dominant. Buffalo over the Jets, it was 40-0 at one point, dominant. So we had 7 or 8 dominant wins, and you all actually won 2 or 3 coin flips. In the past, when we would have a bad week, we would win 4 or 5 dominant games and lose 4 out of 5 coin flips. right? And then it wouldn't really work out, right? I mean, kind of thing. And if you really look at the one you point out, the Sunday night game that we didn't get, okay, if you tell me you have 3.5 or 4 points and you're going to overtime, what are the chances of winning that if you're getting 3.5 or 4 points?
You're over
Super
50.
high. You
Yeah,
win the coin flip, you're essentially almost going to get it for sure. You
Yep.
lose the coin flip. The only way you lose is to give up the touchdown. If you give up a field goal, you're still going to cut, right? I mean, and so not to mention the lack of timeout, that we won't get into all that, but I'm just saying that's at least a 50-50 that you lose. If anything, you'd say that's a 70-80-20 that you lost, what a bad beat against you. So it happens. There's no way, the ball's not round, but overall you guys did a good job using the 6-score algorithm and picks.
It happened to us twice, by the way, Doc, too, because it happened during the Denver Bengals game, too. Like when you have the 3.5 and the 4 and you get the worst possible outcome on the other side, right? But
well, that's why the ball's not round, and it is what it is. That's why it's hard to have a perfect War Room Sunday. So we'll revel in the 11-0, and I'll stay away or stay on vacation.
All right, first person on the rundown, Doc, you already mentioned already. This is a big situation because Miami is still alive along with the Bengals for that final spot. Talk to me about Tua. You've already done a bunch of media hits early this morning talking about that hip injury. Explain what's going on with Tua.
Well, I'd be lying to you if we knew exactly. We've looked at video. Apparently is week 15 something and week 16 aggravation.
Mm-hmm.
We were surprised that he was made doubtful week 17. So what does that tell us? We don't see anything major and traumatic week 15. We don't see anything major and traumatic week 16. So what does that tell us? If you're playing detective, which is kind of what we do, medical detective,
Right.
Quincy, dating myself again.
Yeah.
It's the same hip that he dislocated in college.
Correct.
I get it. The team has said it's not the same injury. Oh, I agree. He didn't re-dislocate his hip.
Right.
The team has said it's not in the same location. Well, that one you have to prove to me. When you dislocate your hip, it is a 360-degree injury of the hip joint, including an acetabular fracture, including labral tear, etc. Hi, Devin. What do you want? The window, the snow will come in. The snow will come in if I open up the window. All right, I'll try.
You okay?
Okay, here. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. All right. I'm lucky not to get snow to come in.
There you go.
You realize the only reason I did it. Oh, here comes another one now. I don't know. I just knew that Devin would not stop banging on this window. So.
I know that. I know that.
You know the feeling, I'm sure,
Yes,
Taylor.
Yes.
So my worry on Tua Tagovailoa, it's the same hip, and whenever you dislocate the hip.
What?
Davis, you want to come in and tell your story about catching on fire? No? Okay. He's playing outside. The worry on Tua Tagovailoa, it's the same hip. If it has anything to do with the hip joint and with the lack of video, it may indeed have some link to the previous hip dislocation. Now, if they're telling me it's not the same location as, i.e., it's a hip pointer or something, it's weird that it was a week 15, week 16 aggravation and late rule out week 17. So I don't know. The antenna is up there. And it looks like Snoop Huntley is playing again this week, week 18.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So, I have to have my worries. And I'm not trying to second guess. You can pull the tape. I was like, Tua getting a big contract. That's good. I hope they factored in the hip.
You think they would, right? Because I remember even when you
They probably did. I'm just saying I hope they did.
Because I remember when you even did the injury, I remember you're at Costco with your family, and I was getting you all the information with the video. I just remember that was the first initial worry, which is like it could be threatening. So if it even a little bit, they should, like you said, have it in the contract some way, right?
Well, I don't know if you can have it in the contract and sign him, but hopefully they evaluated him and cleared him before they gave him the money. I would assume they did, right? But who knows?
The other two question marks for this Dolphins team that's in the limbo is Jaylen Waddle with his knee/MCL high ankle injury. Do you think he could return? And Terron Armstead dealing with that, like you said, his knee injury all year, didn't finish the game last week.
Terron Armstead is Mr. Load Management right now. I get that's an NBA term. He doesn't practice much at all during the week, and he tries to play on Sunday. And the Dolphins are happy with that, and he's happy with that.
Paid him a lot of money as well. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So as far as Waddle, this is the first realistic week that it might be possible. We'll see. And obviously Tyreek Hill is going to continue to play through.
All right, next, you already brought up Pickett already. Just talk about him real quickly. And do you expect Jalen Hurts to come back this week, or are they going to keep this week and let him come back in the playoffs?
I don't expect them to play Jalen Hurts fully this week. If they feel like rust is an issue and he's cleared, they might play him a little bit and not have him run the football.
Okay.
But the risk is, Chris Olave. Okay. Chris Olave had a concussion, came back the next week, took a big hit, actually was not found to have a concussion. And then the second week playing, got a concussion, missed the IR minimum month, and now has not returned. I get it. The Saints are done, and so he's not returning. But if Hurts gets a second concussion in week 18, he's missing the playoffs.
Yes, yeah.
So they're just trying to be careful with that, right? And this is why I said from the get-go, he's not playing week 17. I don't care if the Eagles had anything to play for. He's not playing week 17. And now that the number 2 position is locked up, they have even less to play for. Unless they're just going to knock some rust off of him, use him a series or two in a careful preseason-ish way. I don't actually see him playing this week.
Would you see them potentially just going to the third string and skipping Pickett with his rib injury and just starting the Tanner McKee kid that came in at the end of last game just because the game doesn't matter? Or do they need to potentially play one of these two? Probably not.
I think that's a coaching decision.
Right.
If Kenny Pickett says, I'm super comfortable with this offense, I don't need any other reps. If Jaylen goes down, I'm ready to go, and Nick Sirianni and everyone believes it, then yeah, they might go Tanner McKee. But otherwise, Kenny Pickett, he's done well, but he's not been a regular in the offense,
Right.
And
exactly.
And not that he's experienced at least some, but once again, it's an individual decision. I had players that would, even vets, that say, don't ever pull me from practice. I don't ever want to miss.
Yeah.
It takes away my rhythm. And there's other vets that would say, you know what, if you get me a day off, I would appreciate it. Let's do it on the defense install day and let me work the offense install day. It's very individual. So I can't speak for Kenny Pickett.
That's like maybe a head coach dependent too. I remember in later his career, Ben Roethlisberger asked Mike Tomlin for a Thursday day off because that's when they did defense install. And Mike Tomlin's just like, not at all. So, maybe some coaches don't like that. Maybe it's somebody else, or like you said, it's
There's only
yes.
there's like 4.
Next one, Doc. Another team that's still in it is the Bengals. Tell me what you saw. Chase Brown did not finish the game for them with his ankle injury.
Look, I get the worry. It's been reported as a high ankle.
Yes.
Jordan Schultz and others said it. And look, high ankles have been devalued. It used to be, you have a high ankle, you're out 4 to 6 weeks. But now Justin Herbert played through, Patrick Mahomes played through this year. But they are quarterbacks. They're not running backs. I don't think Chase Brown's is as bad. If you look at the video that we posted, his was a non-contact high ankle where he misstepped. There was no one rolling on it. So I think it's the mildest of grades. And because of that, I think he has a chance to play. He's tough. The Bengals are all in on this game, and it was the mildest of forms. I think he's going to try.
And speaking of an all-in game, the next guy I'm talking about, Doc, Aaron Jones. He left the game late in the game with a quad contusion. Do you expect him to play for against the Lions Week 18?
Yes.
Period. Yes.
Well, he's getting rehab, this, that, the other. Now, is he 100% or 95%? That's a good question.
Because they have a stable. They have Cam Akers. They have Ty Chandler. So you might see maybe a usage drop or something, maybe if he does play.
I think if Aaron Jones has his helmet, Aaron Jones is going to get the ball.
Playing, yeah.
I mean, no offense to Cam Akers, but Aaron Jones
changes the game when he's out there. Yes,
it's not a 1A, 1B there. It's a 1 and
the next guy.
Yeah.
Going to the game that game, the Lions. David Montgomery and Alex Anzalone. Tell me about their expectations or availability. Anzalone broke his forearm week 11, and then Montgomery with his MCL injury.
I expect Anzalone to be back for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Like you said all along. Yeah.
And especially if they get a bye. Now, if he wants to get a little bit of a run in a cast in week 18, they could. But, Does
he need to play through a cast the entire playoffs, or will it come off if they go deeper? Is that an all playoff kind of thing?
We'd have to start counting weeks. I mean, week 11 injury. So by the time you get to second round or the divisional round, that's week 20. So it's 8 weeks. He could start to think about shedding it into a smaller fiberglass splint or something.
Players,
Anzalone's back. Anzalone's back. Montgomery hopefully is back, like we talked about.
Players with the cast, you saw Amarius Mims. He had a club on his right hand. He suffered a fracture early in the week. He played the game, but then he had to leave. Is that something that he wasn't able to play? Like you have to use your more arm action as a right tackle, or just
club? You can play with a club, but you're not as effective.
Okay, at any position, right tackle, linebacker, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
any position.
Okay, next one, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. They're still fighting off for the division. Big injuries for them. Jamel Dean with his knee injury. That adds to their secondary issues with Antonio Winfield knocked out, and then also Jordan Whitehead out for the year. Tell me your thoughts on Jamel Dean.
Knee injuries, plural, right?
Yes. I saw Laporte said, yeah, I saw that. I thought it was a yeah.
But we don't see anything on video, so hopefully he can play through. And they're playing the Saints.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if they've got the passing offense to take advantage.
Are you saying you don't like Spencer Rattler or Jacob Hayner, is what I'm hearing here?
I'm not saying I don't like them. I mean,
they're not able to take advantage of a secondary that is injured like Tampa Bay. Absolutely. Yeah. And then there's no Olave as well, do you expect? Or do you think he might get a last run before? Yeah.
He's not getting the last run. Why? I mean, if he gets another concussion, it's 3 in 1 year. Now it's really career threatening instead of just 2 in 1 year. For a week 18 game, why? I mean, I don't see it.
I had one question, Doc. We have an NBA injury to talk about, but just real quick with Saquon. He's 106 yards away. Is this a benching with him, or is you always tell me Howie Roseman's a blank, fill those lines. You always tell me that. Is he gonna just run him out there and make sure he gets the record to rub it in on the Giants, whatever, or is this make sure he's rested for the playoffs?
Now, first of all, I don't disrespect Howie Roseman. I like Howie Roseman. I think he's a very sharp
good way. Yes, yeah.
I'm just saying he plays chess.
Yes.
He's a 3-dimensional guy, right? And here's the thing. I don't think Howie Roseman runs Saquon Barkley out there. You want to know why? Is Howie Roseman trying to rub it in on the Giants and show you the weapon that I have? I mean, he's essentially already done it.
He already did it. Yes.
Saquon got 2,000 yards.
Yes.
So what if he gets the all-time record? Does it really enhance that he's a really smart GM and that he's done that? What's going to enhance that he's a really smart GM? Winning the Super Bowl. Can you win the Super Bowl without Saquon?
No.
I
don't think so.
I don't think he gets the record. And Saquon's already said, I'll do whatever they tell me to do. I don't care. Right? Now, think about it. He plays, he gets the record. What's the upside of that? Yay, Saquon. Does Howie Roseman get a lot more? Nick Sirianni get a lot more? No.
Yeah, it's not enough. Yeah.
He plays and he gets hurt. What happens?
You're done. You're crushed.
You dumb MF. Right? So I actually don't think Saquon plays.
Well, that's a big take. I mean, you have people. I mean, the fantasy playoffs are basically over, so I mean, it's just about the record. Did you see Eric Dickerson talk about it? I see always some players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and stuff. They just don't seem like happy when their records are broken. I guess me wouldn't either, but like Eric Dickerson seemed he's like, I hope it doesn't happen, kind of thing, But
yeah, on the one hand, you should applaud his honesty.
Yeah,
I mean, the Miami Dolphins pop champagne every year.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Larry Zonka took a shot when
I saw an interesting stat, and I don't want to get it wrong. Yes, Saquon may need 17 games to do it, and Dickerson did it in 16.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to get the stat wrong, but right now, Saquon has 40 or 50 carries less than Eric Dickerson in that year.
Because he has 348 right now. That's what Saquon Barkley has.
Okay. And how many did Dickerson have in his record setting?
He had 379.
Okay, so I was a little wrong. It wasn't 40 or 50, but it was 79, 30 plus carries. So
have about
So even though Saquon has an extra game in the same number of carries, he'd break the record probably.
Yeah. No, exactly. Last one, big injury that happened, Doc, in basketball. One of the main ones right now is Luka Doncic. He suffered a calf injury. They said they'll reevaluate him in 1 month. So that's 30 days. That's 15 games missed. That means they did the new rules. No MVP. He has a chronic history of calf injuries. He missed all of this season's training camp and preseason due to left calf contusion. Is this just them playing safe? Like, this is something he's been dealing with all the way till maybe 2022.
Well, it's still the NBA preseason, right?
Oh, I thought it was Christmas. I thought you started on Christmas. Yeah. I thought we did. Yeah.
Look, calf injuries can linger. And using the proverbial analogy, when your 7:23 a.m. flight is rescheduled to 9:00, it's not leaving till 9:00.
Right.
That's the check back with me at 9:00 and we'll have an update. This is what this 1 month is. Check back with me in a month and we'll have an update. When the update comes back 9:17, that flight is leaving.
Yeah.
When the update comes back 10 a.m., that flight's not leaving.
Not leaving directly on 10.
So it's a check back with me time. Best case scenario is leaving and he's playing in a month. Best case scenario, your flight's leaving at 9 a.m.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I have his inside up, everything for all the big NBA injuries. The season has started, according to Doc. So we'll be making sure we have court views in a couple weeks of all the main injuries. Keep going for NFL insights when the season wraps up, Doc. That's all I have.
All right. We'll wrap it up with the tease story. I guess my son doesn't want to come inside from building a snowman and the snowman contest and the kids and whatever, which is great. So literally true story. Riding on the snowmobile, we stop. They're waiting. Guy comes up and says to the lead guy, "Use your radio on. The snowmobile's on fire." He turns around. Then we take a head count. Oh, where's my friend Clint and my son? Kim starts running down the trail. The patron that came out and said the thing's on fire goes, "Oh, I guess I should have led with everyone's okay."
Kim's already there already. She's already
Kevin off my snowmobile, rode down. He's fine. And I could show you the pictures and video. So apparently what happened was they were second to the last, and the last rider speeds up and starts yelling at them. They couldn't hear because of the snowmobile and the helmets. I'm going to try and pull up pictures for you. Starts yelling at them and says, "You're on fire." And they're like, what? They could know. Finally gets the attention of my son who's on the back, says, "You're on fire." And he looks down and he sees Clint's leg is on fire. His snow pants are on fire. And he's hitting him and says, "You're on fire." And Clint's trying to figure it out. And my son kind of, I don't know how fast the snowmobile was going, but I want him to tell us. He says he jumped off.
Stop, drop,
I
and
don't
roll.
know
in the
that.
snow.
And then Clint stopped Snowmobile and stopped, drop, and roll. Well, not quite. He stuck his leg into the snow, but literally the snowmobile burnt his ski pants. I'll show
Are
you.
they flame resistance pants? Those knee pants?
Well, I mean, here's a close up.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it burned it right off
So
there.
thankfully, it melted his high boots too.
Yeah, it
You
went
can
through
see
the
the jar.
Wow.
That was all on fire.
You're like in a James Bond high speed.
I mean, I don't know if you see it as well there, but the close up is.
Yeah, now you can see the close up.
Oh, and here he is telling you the story of. He'll tell the story for it, but yeah, I mean, that's
burn it right off. Yeah.
So
yeah,
a fire snowmobile. Apparently, I don't know, mechanical. Maybe the parking brake was on, but I don't know how you drive the snowmobile. The parking brake's on. I don't know, but bottom line, it started burning up. So we'll give my son and his
piece of the week. Yeah,
Uncle Clint the piece of the week. A fire on a snowmobile.
There you go.
Good thing their 6 score is okay.
Yes.
All right, Monday Night Football tonight. No other last-minute questions. A lot of defensive injuries. Both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
Both teams. All right. Thank you. No Thursday games anymore. Is there a cheer from Kim?
What?
No more Thursday games. She says,
Sunday.
thank God.
Sunday.
2 Saturday games.
2 Saturday, that's right. I forgot they flexed them, yes.
And no more Monday night games.
February 9th can't come soon enough.
There you go.
February 9th? How do you know what date that is?
He knows exactly when the Super Bowl date is, Doc. There you go.
I thought you were worried about February 2nd. All right. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll chat with you again next week and ride the wave. 11-0 from the Sunday. Doing well in college. There's college football stuff, basketball stuff.
I can tell you guys don't do well because you're so grouchy. It's insane.
You mean baseline grouchy or?
You're so irritated grouchy. I know what you guys did pick right.
I never pick. I just grade injuries.
That's funny.
All right.